Greatness. 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 Bow, bow, bow. Greatness.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Renewing the Mind podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Sanchez. Joined with me, as always, my dad, Dr. Raul Sanchez. How you doing, Dad?
I'm feeling like the man, the myth, and the legend, baby. Like back in the day at NDSU, we had a saying, those who stay will play. Those who play will be champions. Once a champion, always a champion, baby. There she is right there. Let's go.
And there's the ring kiss.
All day, all day.
On this podcast, we teach you how to renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation. And don't ever forget, there's 2 times to be great: when you feel like it and when you don't.
Yes.
Couple people, there's 15 of you watching. Only 2 of you are in the comments. Hop on the comments. Let us know you're here. I'll throw them up there. Jay Ruby gives us a let's go from Wisconsin.
Jay Ruby.
Hey, call me tomorrow, Josh. We need to touch base. We haven't connected in a couple weeks, so hit me up. Another comment we got from Esther. Thanking God I have no more kids to send off to school.
Yeah. Empty
But
nesting.
she's here though. But she's here.
Yeah. You can never get enough skills.
Yeah. Josh Ruby with the bet. The wife from upstairs hits us with the clap. I'm telling you, when that pre-service intro is running, dude, I got my speakers probably a little bit too loud.
Yes.
I'm sure Alicia is going to send me a little text like, hey, turn them down. But I'm telling you, man, that thing gets me fired up. If you can see we got our little previews down here of our videos of me and you. We're both just like,
I sure what I was thinking. I was like, dude, how do we get this in the like when you're put on hold at the clinic, right. In the mind clinic, just like people jacked up.
I got you.
So yeah.
Another one, some claps.
Carrie Johnson.
We're here.
Yeah, she's a teacher, so shit's good.
We're here. All right. So as you can see, another one. Here traveling home from high school volleyball game. I'm telling you, throw it up.
Win? Did y'all get the dub?
Let all the students know. Take the AirPods out. Turn us up.
Yeah.
On the school bus. All right.
That's great.
Oh man, we got there. Now we're all coming in. Now we got him. Here we go.
There we go.
Auntie Nana, are there tools in this box for school buses?
Yeah, it's called sugar.
Hey, me and Stella stopped and saw Auntie Nana bus number 17, and she did give Stella and Eliza a sucker.
Oh, there we go. That's awesome.
Nate with the emojis.
Yeah.
Logan with a high. I'm throwing them all up there.
Yeah, that was a cool
Carla
line.
Ruby packing to leave for Wisconsin. I hear you guys leave tomorrow. Going to see Jay Rube.
That's cool.
Bringing home the W.
Yeah, let's go. Hitting in the house.
All right. Okay, so today we're talking about back to school toolbox. We're going to give you some practicals. Dad's got, how many you got? 3?
3 main points.
3 practicals. I think I got 2 that we're going to throw at you. A little bit practical teaching, not really in depth as far as like mental thought, but just practical things as families, schools, parents. Obviously, if you don't have, like Esther said, don't have kids, she put mentoring up here. So,
Correct.
This is a way where you can talk to everyone knows a younger family, if you don't have kids or you don't have them, or they're in college, Carla, there's definitely a way, or out of college. These are practical applications for anytime. Mine at least apply all the time. I haven't heard yours yet because we don't really communicate before the podcast. We probably should, but we don't.
We just like to let it roll.
Hey, just hop on here. Let's go.
Yeah, correct.
Also, last thing I want to say is, if you saw my post this week, we put how it started and then how it's going now. So thank you for the 20 people that rock with us every single Tuesday night, the other 65 that download the podcast throughout the week, the other 35 that tune in when they're on the treadmill throughout the week. None of this is possible if it wasn't for you guys rocking with us, sharing it, liking the post. I know it seems like kind of maybe a mundane thing to do, but every time you share that post, it's getting the message out to other people that maybe aren't able to tune in, maybe don't like the page already or know me and Dad personally. And
Yeah.
so I just want to say thank you. We had a dream 3 years ago to kind of start something like this. And if you saw that picture, it was pretty buns. Dad was on the side of the desk. I had the side of the desk. I couldn't even put my legs underneath it. We had mics that weren't this. They were singing mics. They were like duct taped together. And
We
I
had
had
foam everywhere to like bounce sound.
Yeah, and I had to go start the camera, come back, start the audio. Then if we messed up, we had to go. It was a disaster.
It was messy.
So
It was messy for sure.
yeah, but my line in there was like, just start.
Yeah.
One of my mentors that I follow from a distance on YouTube, his name's Sean Cannell, and he says, just push play. So apply that to anything you do in life. Just push play. Start today. Do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a podcast. It doesn't have to be a YouTube channel. But that same idea goes for anything. Just start today. Figure it out as you go. We realized this is the best format for us right now. And so that's what we're rocking with. And who knows, maybe in a month or two, it might change to something else, but keep evolving, keep changing. So,
and as you know, we talk about keep climbing. People ask me all the time, like, how'd you do it with dyslexia? How'd you get a PhD? And I was like, I'm just too stubborn to quit, and that's,
how do you still do it with dyslexia? That boy messes up numbers to this day.
I'm too stubborn to quit.
You haven't defeated dyslexia.
People are like too legit to quit. I'm like, nah, I'm too stubborn to quit.
Let's
like
be clear.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
That's my point. Just don't quit. Just don't quit.
Hop in. Point 1. Back to
all
school.
All right. So I'll give you 3 points. Point number 1, preparations. Okay. Preparations, how we prepare kids. Step number 2, coping skills. How do we cope when they fall down? Step number 3 is managing expectations. So we got preparations, we got coping skills, and we have managing expectation. So those are the 3 main points. So let's jump in with preparations. Okay. So preparation. What's that?
Your phone binging?
Maybe email or something. Yeah. Sorry.
All right, go ahead.
I should probably shut that down. So all right. Preparations. So the biggest thing about preparations is the morning routine and the bedtime routine. And in those routines, number 1, you should have some routines that build structure. Structure is the second best way to decrease stress. Structure is the second best way to decrease stress. Anybody have any guesses? What's number 1? Like I say it all the time. It's exercise. Exercise is number 1 way to beat stress. Number 2 is preparation, or your routine, your structure. Okay, so during this time, you're working on your morning routine, you're working on your bedtime routine, you're talking to your kids, you're packing your backpack, and you're just saying like, hey, what's tomorrow? What do you got? Oh, you got art. How's art? Then they're sticking stuff in there. You're making a lunch. Okay, how's your bologna working? I mean, do you want peanut butter and jelly? And you're just talking, and they're like, oh, I got music tomorrow. I hate music. Oh, why do you hate music? And in these little conversations, you're just getting them to express, as people express their thoughts, they can hear it. And as they hear it, they reflect on their thinking, and then something pops. They're like, oh, I forgot I have this, signature for you to sign. We want to take this bus trip, and things like that start to happen. But your number 1 goal in there in preparing your kids is to get to an identity of, how do I identify a fear or a worry that goes beyond the average thing? So like Valencia just went into middle school. Top 3 things kids are nervous about. I'm going to get lost. That's normal. I'm going to get teased or picked on because I get lost. Okay, that's part of that first one. I'm going to forget my combo. What do you do when you don't know what your combination is? And those embarrassment pieces. So if you talk through the couple of big ones, and then they'll start to show you little ones that kind of show up, and you can just work through those preparation pieces. So I want you to really dig a little bit in your normal conversations about what those anxieties might be. And like one of those might be like we have assigned seats, or I can't sit by my friends, or I don't have any friends in my class. And they'll start to just process that with you, and you just talk through it. Not a big deal right now. You're just trying to bounce around structure and your routine. The second thing you're looking for after you identify a fear is just how the routine bounces. So as parents, we have a routine. Like you're going to wake up, you're going to go potty, you're going to wash your face or shower, or whatever your routine is. And then you're going to make your bed, and then you're going to do this, then you're going to do this. As kids start to go through that routine, they start to have ideas that fit better for them. And so let them bounce around that routine so they can do what's best for them. And you'll see some kids will eat first and some kids will eat last. It really just depends. I laugh about this because Stacy's alarm rings and she stumbles to the coffee. Bumps into stuff. And then she takes the coffee into the bathroom and she drinks her coffee as she starts her routine. I don't need my coffee until I'm out the door. And my first drink of coffee is in the truck heading to the office. So I'm a morning person, so I don't really have to depend on the coffee to get moving. That just kind of just sustains my energy so I don't get too high and then burn out later in the day. So your routines are your routines, and then you want to help your parent or your kids own their routine. So that's number one, preparation.
I like that. We do that with Stella more before bed. We just run through the day. Dad's taking you to school. I'm going to drop you off. Mom packed you a Lunchable. After school, don't forget, mom will pick you up or dad will be there. And then we're going to do this, this, and this. Then allow her to ask questions. Got it. Cool. Got the thing. So I like that.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Esther said, being directionally challenged develops life skills.
Yes. Yeah.
Alicia's up there. She is directly challenged.
That's funny though.
And mom, I don't know what this comment means, but it says sure foe.
I think she wait, she got
faux sure.
Mama, you're making fun of my dyslexia. She was straight A's, bro. Like what?
Sure foe. I don't know what sure foe means. Maybe you can comment, mom, and add to what sure foe means.
Shout out to that Georgia education.
Sure do. Oh, here she commented back. Sorry, there's a bug.
Sure do. There we go. There we go. Love you, baby. Love you.
That makes so much more sense than sure foe.
Yeah, like she needs that T-shirt. Like, don't talk to me unless you're gonna get slapped. Unless you got coffee. Like, yeah.
Sure foe. All right.
Right.
Point number 2.
Okay, so point number 2, coping skills. So coping skills literally are the backbone to your kids, because we all, have episodes where we could fall down, fall short, things aren't going to go that well. Okay, so now let's pretend you have identified like a fear that's kind of outside, which is like, what if I'm lonely? What if I don't have friends? That's not one of the typical fears. That's more of a sustained fear. So then you start to talk about like, okay, do you have assigned seats? Do you try to just problem solve through that a little bit? And then once you find out the crux, and the crux would be, hey, we had assigned lunch tables and I only have one person I know and she's 3 people from me. And then so she'll just plop like, okay, now what? So it's almost like emotionally dead, just like poof, mic drop. And so then you can start questions. You can say, well, you can do this, well, you can do this, well, you can do that. And they're just going to say, no, it doesn't work. You don't know. You didn't have a cell phone back in the day. Like they just instantly shut you down. So then you would say, okay, so what have you tried? And you just problem solve. Like they have the answer. They know what to do, but I promise you they're afraid to do it. Just like you know what to do, like your next move at work or whatever, but you're afraid to jump. That's your child. So as we have the coping skills, I want you to really try to see if they can articulate what that jump is. And then we work together as a team to get them to jump there. Like they might say, well, there's a person kitty corner to me, kind of like one person away, and her name's Becca. We're kind of friends, but not really, but I don't know what to say to her because like, I don't know, she doesn't like my one friend. So I don't know what to say. See, so there's the line. I know what to say. I'm sorry. I know what I would need to do, but I don't have the power to make that jump. Now we can do the coping skills. Okay. So here are 3 major, I would say, categories of coping skills. And then you'll figure out which one your kid likes the most. So the first one's task orientation. So the task is like, if we break down a big project into small steps, and then we're just going to chunk away at the big project. So that's a task one. The emotion, number 2, emotion orientation. So this is where we're going to talk out loud. We're going to manage self-talk. We're going to identify the ants, which are the automatic negative thoughts that we've been talking about here. And we're going to try to pull those out of our child so that the emotional side doesn't stop them from making that behavioral jump to ask a new friend. And then the last one is avoidance orientation. As crazy as it sounds, like procrastination does work. It is a coping skill, but it has to be time limited. So sometimes kids will be like, I just have a headache. Just leave me alone. Like, oh, just shut up. You're making me mad. And those kind of things are normal for a kid. They're going to push away a little bit. And then so you could say things like, okay, you can go rest, or okay, you can go watch one episode. And then we're going to talk about this after that. And then so I want you to keep focusing on those pieces, because if you let a kid off the hook and they don't come back, they learn to avoid. And you don't want them to avoid forever. Avoidance is a coping skill just to get me to think through things. So typically I'll procrastinate by doing a task. I'll go mow, or like I'll organize hunting gear, and that's me. Stacy tends to go take a nap or talk out loud. She'll talk through it. Sometimes she'll talk to herself. And those are both coping skills. So she's doing the task orientation, and then she's combining the emotional. So like when I talk with Valencia, we can do all three. We'll bounce through all three. But her number one thing is to do the emotional side. She'll just instantly hit the ants. And then I'll say, honey, you can't be so negative. And then she'll say, oh, and she'll get frustrated. And then we just kind of work through the emotional side. I'll say, okay, what's your biggest fear? And she's like, I know she doesn't like me. She doesn't even smile if I say hi. I try to talk to her and she'll talk about all the things she tried and why it's going to be a no and still stay a no. And then so we'll take a break, play a game, go on a bike ride, come back and ask the same questions. And you'll see that her processing is different. Okay. So these right here, these coping skills, I promise you, these are the springboards to your child's life about how they're going to problem solve big things in life. Now we can talk about all the way down to kindergarten, which is Stella. Valencia, who's middle school. If you have high schoolers, it's the same. They're going to come in and plop down and be like, I don't know why I took this stupid AP class. Doesn't matter anyways. Nobody's going to freaking care. And they start just to get really frustrated. And instead of just trying to stand up and say, you know what, you're going to be resilient. You're going to be tough. Like, our kids don't talk that way. You just have to listen first and then ask those questions. And the questions is like, how can I help you? What have you tried? What would you like me to do? How can I support you? Then you'll get them to process inside their own head. And then their coping skills and their critical thinking skills are going to deter them from just following a crowd and then waking up 20 years later and be like, I never wanted to do this in my life, but I thought it was the right thing to do. We don't want that to happen.
Yep.
Makes sense?
Yeah, no, Stella she kind of like, I don't know what it would fall into, but she gets like real weird when she gets anxious. Like she'll start jumping around and kind of kicking her feet. And so first day of school, we walked up and she started doing that. So I was like, you nervous, baby? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I'm just nervous because her two best friends from pre-K are in two other classes. And so she was going into this class and she goes, I just don't know any friends. And so I mean, obviously I didn't know any of these coping skills. I just said, well, what happened last year in preschool when you didn't know anyone? What did you do? She's like, make friends. And I said, well, what happened when you went from nursery to big kids church? What did you do? Made friends. What happened when you didn't know anyone? You went to gymnastics, made friends. So I just kind of talked her through examples of, hey, we've been here before. You've done it. And I said, look, all the other kids around you, they're all scared. I was like, look, this girl's crying. This girl's screaming. I said, we're not there either. I said, you've done this before. You're going to go in there. You'll find some friends. I said, you didn't know your two best friends, Allie and Miles last year. I said, so we'll make some new friends this year. And just talking her through it, you could tell she wasn't so skippy, and it just kind of slowly calmed her down for her to be able to even express that. But if I wouldn't ask the question, she would never even talked.
Correct. Yeah. So
as a parent, you kind of got to pick up on some of those. And it's not every time your kid's going to come to you and be like, oh, Dad, let me tell you why I'm so scared. Or, at some point you got to pick up on that and say like, hey, come here. I can tell you're nervous, or I can tell you're scared. I can tell, this is going on, etc.
Yeah. So she started in the emotional side because the emotions start to kind of spill out of her, and she's got some anxiety that's kind of moving.
Yeah.
And then
so she's like hopping around.
Yeah. So you took the task analysis. You took a big issue of like, how do I do this? Yep. You broke it down into previous problems. How do we solve this? So you made it task, and then she picked it up. But you can see some of those kids, like an avoidant kid, they'll be having like social attachment issues with their parents, like separation anxiety and stuff, and they won't want to leave. They'll be grabbing onto their parents. They'll be falling on the floor. They'll run into the building and then go hide, and parents can't find them. Like that's all avoidant. And then you'll see those task kids. Well, they'll start like picking up garbage. They'll start opening the door for people. They just get busy because they don't know what to say or do. So they just start doing a job. Okay. And as you have older kids start to take a look at those three pieces, and that just gives us the big header, like the big category. And then inside of there's plenty of skills that we can all develop on each kid. And then once you get that situation, like, okay, so like for you and Stella, you'll probably be driving to school and she'll be like, hey Dad, remember when I made this friend Miles? Like now I have another friend. And then it'll just be pretty common. And that's where the rubber meets the road of like not farming out parenting to somebody else, like to a teacher or a daycare provider or something. We are the parent, and we should be that person who's the most approachable of all.
Yep. Alicia says she's always been directionally challenged.
No comment. I plead the fifth.
When we first started dating at Evangel in Springfield, she and I had my apartment and she had her apartment or whatever. She would, when she came over, when she would go home, she would put in her GPS her apartment for a long time. And I was like, that's not, no. And she's like, I'll get lost if not. And then obviously after doing it for a month or two, then she didn't, but she's been good. She doesn't really rock the GPS on the phone here that much in Sioux City.
That's good.
All right, good question we got here. I'm throwing it up.
Okay.
Crystal, what if your child thrives so much on structured schedule they can't function when things get off schedule? What's the best way to balance structure and flexibility? AKA my brother Tavian.
Dude, I wasn't gonna say anything. Oh my goodness, he's so mean. It's like it has to be like
The
dialed
most
in.
structured person
Oh
and the most
man.
just absolutely loses it when it goes out of the way he had planned.
Yeah, correct. So the good news is structured people do way better. That's hands down proven in multiple areas.
I don't know.
Yes, they do way better. So that's the good news. So part two of the good news is because they're so structured, you don't have to plan flexibility because it'll just show up in their life. So I would say take the same situation. So somebody who's a task person, like they got lists upon lists, and they got sticky notes, and they got reminders. Those are task people. Emotional people, they go 100 miles an hour, and then you'll just see them like sleeping at the dinner table and then just kind of crash. That's an emotional person. They just don't know how to pull over and assess where their emotions are at. And then the avoider, you'll see like they just they're like all or nothing. They'll go up and climb and just do amazing things, and then they don't come out of the room for a day and a half. So you'll see that, that avoidant personality pieces that pops in there. So once you see it, then I would ask the same kind of questions. So if it's a task person, I would come in and be like, hey, I noticed like you haven't done your laundry. I have noticed like you haven't done these things. Like, what's up? Like, what you want to talk about it? Or if you say, hey, you've been slamming doors and kicking stuff and mad, like, is there something you want to talk about? Can I help? And then you try to just get to that concept. Now, the cool piece that you got to keep pushing is this concept of emotional agility. And emotional agility, by the way, has been proven as the number one construct for CEOs who do amazingly well. And that ability to adjust on the fly, emotional agility. It sounds just like what it is. They can bend and ebb with the flow. They're always a rock. They always just kind of push through. You never see them sweat. But when they're nervous, they'll talk to people like, hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you think? Hey, what's happening? Hey, what's going on? And they start to assess coping, and then they pick up their energy from people, and then they just keep pushing through. So I think it's going to be good for you, just as long as you notice that she's having flexibility issues, and then talk through it, and she's set up right. So I think that'll be awesome. Poor Tave.
Oh, there we go. Poor Tave.
but he
always thinks about the down and out. I love it. Always stepping up for the people who don't have the voice.
Yeah. So back in college,
he's a little brother. So
so back in college, Esther would have been one of the warriors who we say circle the wagons. So like she's always circling back to make sure nobody's left behind, like circle the wagon, like poor Tavian, let's go grab him. But Tavian wouldn't tell you it's poor Tavian. He would just say, all y'all dummies, do it this way and that kind. He doesn't think he's, out of the loop.
What's his saying? He makes today harder so tomorrow's easier or something?
Yeah. Make today hard so tomorrow's easy.
Yeah, something like that.
Correct.
But if you think about it, that doesn't really make any sense, because if he's making tomorrow easier, but then when tomorrow's here, today's harder. Nah, I don't like it.
In other words, he doesn't like your favorite word of your dictionary, which is tomorrow.
No, I don't like it.
Hey, tree stands tomorrow. Like, hey, we're going up tomorrow. Like, yeah,
I don't like it.
Yeah.
All right, point 3.
All right, number 3. So number 3 is manage expectations. Okay, so if you have like Crystal's child, so like if you have somebody who does everything right, they have that management style of it's going to be perfect. And so the number 3 is manage your expectations. So it's not going to be perfect, but you can have perfect test score. You can have a perfect episode. You can have a perfect, assignment. You can have a perfect speech. There is perfection, right? But you can't push for perfectionism. So not everything is going to be it's like I can make a perfect omelet and then be late to work. Okay. So if you manage your expectations, like not everything has to be perfect. And so we always say, celebrate your little wins. So like, the one of those days I always laugh about like Sunday morning, because when pastors use this, like this was us, like you get up, everybody's crazy on Sunday morning. So no one does the dog because it's like not an assigned odd or even Monday, Wednesday, Friday day. And so like the dog didn't get fed, nobody, just chaos, and then you get in the van and whatever, you're cruising to you're yelling, like, put on your seatbelt, like I'm going to ground you, and then you get to church, you walk, oh, hey, how you doing? Like everything's great. So the concept is like, you got to learn to celebrate the wins. Like, hey, we made it on time. Hey, I dropped you off.
Smile on. We're at church.
Yeah, correct.
Get it
And
together.
get it together. Do you want me to pull over the car? And then you're like, thank you, Jesus, for my family when you get to church. It's
Then
funny.
you walk in, you're like, oh, good morning.
So the concept is like you got to celebrate those small wins, and the small wins are, hey, it was weird, but hey, guys, we got here on time. Like you're at school, like have a great day, and then still circle up and pray with them. So here's the management piece. It's not always going to be pretty, but you have to celebrate the win. Like an ugly dub is still a dub. Like a win's a win. So don't forget that, because sometimes we get lost in like, this was so messy, this was so chaotic, and you're not even giving yourself the credit of like, look, I got everybody off at school, I got everybody off at work, like today's an okay day, like we made it, and then you get home and then you can circle the wagons and like pick up the stuff and take care of the dog and all those kind of pieces. So don't forget to celebrate your small wins. The second piece is one size does not fit all, and that's the biggest issue I see. And sometimes people hear me talk about structure, routines. They're like, hey, we have it dialed in, but man, our middle child just won't comply.
They're the worst.
And so I always just say, just remember, there's not one size fits all. So our routine of like, get these 5 things done is our family rule, but how those 5 things are organized, we can allow flexibility. The other thing is like Terrence and Tavian were so opposites on some of the stuff they did. Tavian did everything in the bathroom once, did everything in his bedroom once, did everything up in the kitchen once. And Terrence would go up and down multiple times just because he didn't want to get anything dirty, like his shirt stained and all that stuff. And if I pulled either routine out and gave it to the other one, they'd be mad at me and fight me. But they both had their own routines. And like studying wise, I really just racked my head with Terrence for a while, because, he's got some reading issues like I had with reading when he was younger, elementary school, and we worked through it. And he would not do very well if he was at a table with a bright light and it was like school functioning, like the sensory stuff didn't work for him. So he gets stuffed animals and he throws a blanket on the floor and he's all cuddled up like he's doing yoga, but like he's studying for his AR test, and he shows up and gets 100. And I'm like, what? And I'm supposed to be the expert, but Terrence taught me a lot about just being comfortable when you study. And to me, I'm like, I don't care how you feel. There's 2 times to study kind of stuff. And so Terrence kind of taught me that routine around like, no, you can be comfortable and study. And so like Stacy used to tell me like she studied on her bed when she was in high school and stuff like that. I was like, oh, so that's kind of Terrence, that feel good studier. And so don't get hung up too much on the details of each child, because one size doesn't fit all, but just put your effort in the routine. So like at our house, when the kids were young, we'd have study hour. So let's say that's from 7 to 8. There's only classical music on or jazz. Nowadays it'd be lo-fi beats or something, and everybody's studying. So Tavian would be on a desk, bright lights, like he's studying for like, some big exam. And Terrence is laying on the floor with a bunch of stuffed animals, just chilling, but he's still studying. And so as long as everybody's following the big routine of like, it's our study hour, everybody can kind of pick their own thing in there and pick and choose. And as long as you do that as a parent, you can manage expectations as far as like, I don't have to have Tyler do what Terrence does or vice versa. And then I can sit down and read, or I can sit down and do the checkbook. And that study hour plan for everybody manages a lot of expectations throughout the day, because during that time, you'll have a kid come to you too, because something will spark. We don't spend enough time with stimuli down, like no TV, no Xbox, no nothing. And you just old school, an hour of unplugged time besides like classical or jazz, something that's just kind of stimulating just to keep the minds kind of calm. And then it's amazing what kind of conversations come up. Our greatest conversations were during those study hour times of doing AR points, because you get into big conversation and then you start to see all these 3 steps. Like we can still do preparation from there. We can manage coping skills, and we can manage my expectations as a parent, and then a child's expectations about being perfect.
Yep. One of the things I thought about, it's a different look on your expectations, but I'm trying to break Stella from society's expectations. And so I'm trying to manage that side of it, because so yesterday she fell on the playground and she scuffed her knee in her hand. And the first thing she said to me, got in the car, she goes, "Dad, I didn't even cry." This is what she said. She said, the tear was right here. And I went, "Get back up there." And so she's like, "I didn't want people to see me cry." And I said, "Well, babe, you can cry." Like, because I think, we've always said, don't cry and stop crying, like those type of things. But that's in the way of like, I want a snack and you can't get a snack. So it's like the whining crying, not necessarily actually tears, blood crying. So I said, dude, you could have cried, like crying's fine if you're in trouble and are bleeding or hurt or in pain. And
Yeah.
so she's like, yeah, but everyone would have saw. And I said, yeah, you just then show them your scuffed knee. Say I fell and it hurts, and that's why I'm crying. There's a difference between like whining and crying and like, no, your knee is bleeding crying. And so I'm trying to break some of those expectations from other people in society and the norms of, we're raising her in a Christian home, and that's not societal norms.
Right.
And that was what I thought when you said manage expectations, the just another route, but the same concept.
Yeah. That's legit. So you're managing her expectations on feelings and when it's okay to cry, when it's not okay to cry, all those pieces. So just managing their expectation, because see, that's a perfect example of Stella holding a societal norm or an expectation. Like, I can't cry.
Yeah.
And so we would,
my knee was bleeding, but Dad, I didn't cry. Like I was supposed to go like, yeah, you didn't cry. First thing I said was like, no, you can cry. You should have cried.
Right.
You didn't have to suck the tear back up and tell it to get away.
Yeah. And it's those expectations that we would never know because everybody hides them. Everybody stuffs them. And so
the conversation, she's open. We always talk. So for her to be able to tell me that, that I've built that into her.
That's correct. And that's what we want for all the kids. And that's where
her to communicate with me, to the point where Alicia is like, she doesn't want to talk. I'm like, no, we are talking. Like, I'm not having my daughter being scared, growing up scared to talk to her dad about certain things.
Correct.
I want her to talk. But
no, that fits though. Managing the expectation. That's correct.
For sure. We need to pray for the middle school girls. Very little about this journey is easy and hasn't been for 55 years I've been alive. That was back. She commented that when you were talking about Valencia. And as a youth pastor of middle schoolers, dude, it is brutal.
It really, it really is.
I agree. Our hardest groups to manage. So like when we go to conventions, we have to break down the rooms. So we pick high schoolers and boys, obviously separate them, high school girls into certain rooms. And our middle school girl rooms, dude, we spend a solid 55 minutes to an hour on figuring out who's going to match with who, and she can't be with her and she can't be with her. Those two get along, but these two don't get along. And these four are cool in a room. These two won't. I agree.
Yeah, no, correct. So middle schoolers, so like boys who are out of bounds, they're uber competitive. And unfortunately, society will say, oh, this toxic masculinity, but that's a whole different thing. I personally believe toxic masculinity is toxic inferiority, because you can see big dudes like The Rock, big, strong guys who don't care about, I don't have to flex on you. I know who I am. But do you see these guys who then will get in people's face all the time? Number one, it's a testosterone issue where they have to defend their status. And number two, it's a situation where they have this inferiority piece that the flashlight hit there. It's like if I zoomed a flashlight on your forehead right now and you're inferior, you have these inferior feelings about your forehead, or about your beard, then you're going to come at me. So it's an inferior button that hit, but that's not really what we're dealing with. In school, you have these kids who are uber competitive. They'll just be like, haha, I ate before you. Like, haha, I finished before you. Like, haha, I finished my test before you. Those kind of dudes. And they push every other boy around, and they make these quiet boys push out of the way. And so then everybody wants to be with this tough-minded guy because he's always winning. Okay. Girls are different. Girls, like if you're beautiful, all the girls hate you because the guys like you. Okay. And then if you're popular, a lot of the girls hate you and become controlling, because girls are not uber competitive. They're uber possessive. And so the girls who possess girls, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. And I'm not saying that just because I'm
my future.
It's ridiculous. So like a girl will text Valencia and be like, I thought we were besties. You might as well, delete me. You might as well cash me out off this earth. Like, you can't have another friend. And Valencia will talk to us. And I'd be like, look, this is like when I go bike riding with Dirk and then I go shoot, archery with Nate. Like, you can have two friends who do two separate things. You're not cheating on your friend. You're not dumping your best friend. Like, this is absurd. And so we talk through it, and then I have her give her tools to go talk. But I haven't talked to Stacy to see if there's something I should share, but it's not embarrassing, but I'm just going to share it. So the first couple of days of school, Valencia has a real outspoken friend, and we just walk by a guy. So me and Valencia are walking by Joey, or doesn't matter, Trent or something. And they're like, oh, Valencia, or she's like, Valencia has a crush on you. Every time they walk by, Valencia has a crush on you. And Valencia felt so embarrassed. And she's like, I would tell them no, but they didn't believe me because she's so loud. So Valencia packed up all her stuff, comes home yesterday and told Stacy, she's like, that's it. I have all my books. You're going to homeschool me. I'm sick of school. Like, this is ridiculous. The people are going to say whatever, and people believe lies. And she says, if I tell the truth, Dad, The lies sometimes win over the truth, and it's stupid. She's like, I'm telling the truth, but because people lie and they yell and they get all whatever, then that wins. So she brought all her books on me. We're talking about homeschool, and it's funny, but it's sad. And then we just work through and talk through. I was like, the most important thing you can do to dump, and this is just for you, for just if you have kids who get this spot, the number one most effective way to kill a rumor is to literally lead by your behavioral truth. I was like, what does it look like if you crush on a dude? She goes, what do you mean? I was like, if you literally had a crush and he's walked by you, what would you do? She goes, get shy or get nervous. So, yeah. So what can you do to prove you don't? She's like, just do nothing. 100%. Your behavioral truth will win because people will look at him, look at you, look at him, look at you. And like, wait, she's not crushing that dude, because the truth will show up. Right. And so then she, took her book bags today and had a better day. But how do you teach a kid to fight fire like evilly? Or how do you teach a kid to fight lies? And most of us would say, just go punch her in the mouth, or, you know what, you're not going to take that crap. Like, what's her parents' name? I'm going to call. Like, instead we just build tools, build coping skills, because there's a day where my hand can't reach her. I won't be able to protect her. Or like, let's say I went to the school board and I had this big old meeting. There's a day when that's not going to be able to happen. I can't go to a company and be like, hey, I want to have a meeting with the CEO for my daughter. Like, so I want you to think about those long distance situations where we have to teach the coping skills now. And so she's more brave to kind of like, okay, so the truth will win. Yes, it will, honey.
I like it. Managing middle schoolers is a spiritual gift.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Middle school girls is a whole nother level. Esther, back to when you're talking about Tave, middle children are not known to comply.
Yes.
At Tavian Davis.
Yes. At Tyler Sanchez.
I'm an oldest.
Yes.
I'm not a middle. And I do comply.
Yeah.
Bridget, that is all of high school. Girls telling stories of untruth. Oh no, it doesn't end in middle school.
It doesn't. Yeah.
My life.
Yeah, correct. And just so you know, this is another aside, but
that's it. I'm homeschooling.
So the girls are 10 times more aggressive.
Can we stop this? It's not helping me.
Girls are 10 times more aggressive than guys.
Coping skills?
Yes, coping skills. Did you hear me? Girls are 10 times more aggressive than guys, because they're all subtle, manipulative. They're just sly. And dudes just get so frustrated they punch somebody. So yeah. So that's just stuff we got to keep working on.
Are those your three?
Yep, that's it. Those are my three. Right. So preparations, and then teaching coping skills, and then managing the expectations.
I've been throwing them in the comments. So we got 1, prepping skills, 2, coping skills, and 3, manage expectations.
Perfect.
And then mine are allow them to rest. I'll throw it in the comments.
Yes, that's important.
Let me see here. See if I can get it up there. There we go. Put it up there. Allow them to rest. And I saw this with Stella. This is my first time Stella's been in, full 8 to 3 school. Before it was just 8 to 11. And so she didn't come home tired. She wasn't thinking and learning. I mean, she was, but not to this level. So the first day I picked her up, dude, she was, wiped. She was in the car, and, she was sitting in her car seat, and we were driving home, and she's never quiet in the car. She was like leaned against the thing. Like, I was like,
Stella to be quiet. That's a feat.
Exactly. And she's like, Dad, I'm tired. And so she's like, when we get home, can I rest? Can I hop on my iPad? Normally we don't do iPad unless it's Saturday, Sunday, and it's over like, our quiet hour, which is supposed to be kind of naps, but she's out of naps. And so I was like, no, you can. Yeah, let's go home and chill. And so we've done, allowed her to come home and have a moment to decompress, rest. I mean, we're not talking about 2 hours. She was on it I told her she could watch one or 2 of her slime videos or whatever, but giving her that moment to come home rather than like, come home, okay, put your backpack, we do all these things. Like I allowed, especially that first week, we take 2 weeks to give for our youth group and our Wednesday night programs to give families the ability to get back into the swing of things. Everyone's tired. High schoolers are tired. Middle schoolers are tired. It's the first time in 2-3 months that these kids have focused for 8 hours.
Yes.
And so that's one of my piece of it as advice to a tool to put in your toolbox is give them moments to rest and to ease into their full-time routine. And I know that's worse for our middle school, high schoolers. On Sunday, we had our Sunday school class, and a couple high schoolers said, they get up, they got to be at school at 5:30, 6 o'clock for band practice. Then they go to school all day. Then they come home. Then they go to cross country. Then they maybe work for 2 hours. Then they come home at 8 or 9 o'clock, try to grab some sort of dinner, do homework, and do it all over again. I mean, these kids are running rampant. So allow time to rest is my one. I got my first point of two.
Yep. That's good. And we talk about recovery skills, right? So if you allow them to rest / recover, they're ready to do it again the next day.
Yep. And then my next one is, see if it pops up. Increase family time. So I've noticed that because that rest is a little bit more increased, and because time is just a little bit more scrambled, and we're all kind of running around. Gymnastics is about to start next week. We are buckling down on the time we do have. Increase might not be the right word, but enhance or make more efficient. All those will fit, but make it count.
More quality time.
Yeah, quality time. To make sure that, man, when we are home, there's no questions asked. We're all at the dinner table during the school year. We're increasing the book time at night so they can wind down. Kind of like goes back to your structure to wind down, so she goes to sleep better. And then Saturday, Sunday, man, we're increasing that family time. We're efficient, quality, focus, whatever that looks like. We're making sure we have moments where we're really, really intentional about that family time, because that's the most important thing to us, obviously, right? Our relationship with Jesus, and then our family. And so we make sure that is a huge part of our life, especially during school year, because we are more exhausted, we are more tired, and we don't want family time to lack by any means.
Right. And that gives you a chance just to, again, work through those 3 steps, to get some coping, get some managing expectations, and just having that time to then pour back into your child for the rest of that day or whatever that is. So, focus during family time. Yes, correct. So focus on family time and focus during family time. Correct.
Increase it, make it more efficient, focus, buckle down, make sure it's quality. I've been more intentional, even like usually at nights, we're all over the place, but I've been really intentional about like, man, let's play for 45 minutes. Like no questions asked, no TV. Let's dive into their world. Like we had the episode Dogs, Dads on the Ground. I've been really trying to do that with more efficiency during the school year, because I want her. And then it goes to this. Brandy said this: family dinner discussion, discuss the day. Perfect.
Yes, correct.
It definitely gives you moments. We play a game that our daughters absolutely love now. It's called Raise Your Hand If. We played it tonight at Pete's Ranch, and it's basically you just go around the room and you say, raise your hand if, and you raise your hand if it applies. Like raise your hand if you're on a podcast right now. So then I go around the table, you all raise your hand. Next person, raise your hand if you like pizza, and they all raise your hand. But those little moments, at least you just said that. That's funny. Raise your hand, give it dinner.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got Stella to almost choke.
That turns into other things though, right? So then it's like, raise your hand if you had a good day at school. Oh, you didn't raise your hand. Why didn't you raise your hand? Raise your hand if you're making, I slip in intentionally some of those things, but what'd you say?
Stella gets a kick out of like thinking about family dynamics. So like that you're my son, even though you're her dad, she gets really wrapped into the family tree thing. And so my thing was like, raise your hand if you stole your son's piece of chicken. And Stella goes, and then it hit her. She's like, and she leaned over and looked at Tyler, looked at his plate. His plate was missing a piece of chicken.
So dumb.
And Tyler was like, so dumb. Why? So stupid. He just instantly like parties over.
The lady dropped the chicken. I went and got my pizza, but I knew I wanted chicken. Then she dropped the chicken right as I was passing it. So instead of getting up again, it was hot, and I got 3-4 legs or some thighs. I'm eating my pizza to eat my chicken later. Two thighs are gone.
Stella's face, she drew on and she was like, Dad, Pat. Then she starts giggling. She thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Yeah. She looked at
the thing and chicken's gone. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And another idea too is like when we were when the kids were young, we played the same, well, not kind of like the same game, but we called it Who Am I? So we'd say stuff like, I have 4 legs and I have a tail. Who am I? And that, so if you get it on one guess, it's 20 points, like 2 guesses, then it's, 8 to 19, and you drop down. Then like I have 4 legs, I have 2 eyes, I have a bushy tail, I have orange stripes, black stripes, and then people get it. And then when you guess it, you get to pass it. And then when they got older, the same thing, who am I? And I would do your number. So start with 10, take away 5, add 6, plus 2, who am I? First one to get it gets the points. And those are all dinner games because it increases your focus, and then you're intentional with each other. And then that sparks all kinds of stuff. So great idea about dinner time discussions.
If you've been on the podcast before, you've heard the circle up at night. Just to recap the day, talk about issues, plan for tomorrow. That goes back to that preparations, kind of just running down the day, running down the moment. We started out with Stella early on. And so it's not even something that we do. She just likes to know, okay, Dad, what's tomorrow? What's tomorrow? Is it church day? Is it this day? Is it stay home day?
Yes. And I'll tell you this, like that's a double-edged sword, because that circle up time is awesome. Hands down, if I could go back, I would start it earlier than middle school, but we kind of started it in middle school because, when kids are young, they'll just tell you like, hey, my shoes don't fit well, or, hey, I don't know if I like this class, they're just kind of open. Hit middle school and the kids get real quiet. And so we kind of sparked it during that time when I would just say, hey, why don't you come and lay down in the bed and we'll talk. And we all just lay down in the bed. Then it became a point where I'd come out of the shower or whatever after workouts, and Tate would just be laying in the bed, or Tyler or Terrence or whoever. And then that little minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, 15-minute thing turns into an hour and 50 minutes. And I'm like, bro, it's 1:45. I got to get up at 6. Like, I love you, but see ya. So that's the double-edged sword, is like, you're going to lose sleep, but you'll never get that time back. So just invest.
She's like her mother, who likes to plan everything. I'm talking about everything.
Yeah.
My Google Calendar right now that me and Alicia share tells me that on the nights I am supposed to paint the bathroom.
Yes. Or Alicia will be the first one in the family chat to be like, so Thanksgiving plans, ? Like,
right. What are we bringing, and who's eating, and what time? It's
I'm like,
October.
food, and more food. Yeah.
All right. I want to show the podcast world this. What? You want to see it again? I got a Watt moment. One more. What? My van last week, the air conditioner broke 2 weeks ago, and we took it to Dirk Bach. Shout out to Dirk Bach. He has
His tagline is "Ask me, I might." If you have a car issue, any engine, ask him. He might.
He's got basically work truck. He travels around, mechanics on cars. So my AC went out, called him. And although we had 2 weeks of no AC, and probably before that, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks of diminishing AC. So it was like on and off. And then when it was on, it wasn't really super cold. And then called Dirk Bach. He got that thing fixed. And I'm talking about the Van Blow's Polar Vortex AC. I'm not saying it's a claim that he can do in your car. I'm just letting you know the man made it the Arctic in my van, which, if you know me, I'm hot all the time. And this joker, it is freezing ice cold air. So that's the awesome. Watt moment is, even though my car didn't have air for several weeks, we got the Polar Vortex blowing out of the van now. Shout out to Dirk Bach. Call him if you need him.
Yeah, that's awesome. What?
I have to hit it one more time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I love it.
No more.
I love it.
Couple things. Otherwise, it don't happen.
She's back on the calendar.
Alicia does have a little bit more. I've dropped the ball more than not. So I will say it has kept us organized as a couple. Yep. What was that on your Google Calendar? No AC still ain't as bad as that no AC in Chicago trip. That is facts. The worst mission trip we've ever been on.
No.
No AC in the apartment, and we were in such a bad neighborhood. We couldn't leave the windows up. So the apartment thermostat, Josh can verify, at night read 84 degrees. We didn't have a fan, so I found one in the closet and I pulled this out and turned it on. This long of hair blowing out of the fan, like 100 pieces of hair.
Okay, but can that hold a candle to the day Alicia, Stacy, and Stella came out of mom's car when her air broke and they had 8-hour trip? Stella came out.
No, that was
her hair was all stuck to her and she was all wet and she was in her undies.
They drove to Branson and didn't have AC in the BMW because it went out.
Oh my goodness.
They got out of the car and I thought Alicia was going to throw up, and Stella was actually low-key sweating, like drips.
Yeah, and she was in her undies.
Her hair was all stuck.
And Alicia was pregnant with Eliza.
And she was in her underwear.
Her hair was all stuck to her neck and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, Stella had on.
Oh yeah. Not Alicia, Stella. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, good clarification there. Good. Yeah, that's funny.
Stella, not Alicia. Yes, this is how that subscribes it.
Nightmare.
It's right. All right, we're out of here.
Yep, that's it.
Last final thoughts. Just to recap.
So the recap: make sure you talk to your child.
Preparation.
Through preparation.
I'm throwing the YouTube comments on here intentionally because if you can ever watch on Facebook or you want to send the YouTube link right after this show, it goes live as a video on YouTube. So if you'd like to send the link to someone, send them the YouTube link because it's a better quality video to watch. So,
preparation, coping skills, and then
number 3,
the last one, manage expectations. The most important thing is to draw out fears, worries, anxieties. Not that we can avoid them, but so we can problem solve around them. When all said and is done and your child is off and running in college, you want them to have the ability to identify a fear, to problem solve through it, around it, over it, all right, because of it. And then the last piece that they manage their expectations and they can celebrate even a broken win, a partial win, an ugly win. That's what we have to do, because it's crazy to me how many people are winning, but they feel like they should be better. So they're still depressed and anxious, even though they're like straight A students.
Yep.
Right. So we got to help our kids to celebrate the partial wins, ugly wins, and they're still climbing. So, hey, celebrate that.
The steps on the journey.
Correct.
And then I threw out my 2. This is more specifically to the actual getting back to school. Allow them to rest. Society says, go, 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 go. Allow your kids to rest at home. Allow them to chill out a little bit. They already feel that pressure to do everything, accomplish everything. Allow them to breathe a little bit, especially at the start of school. And then increase family time, efficiency, quality of it. Double down on making sure that family time is key during these moments, because they are feeling more anxious and, fearful, worrisome, etc. Awesome. Shout out to Crystal. Great content as always. And thank you for the laughs. Well done, guys. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Once again. Oh, last thing I want to throw out there. If you follow us on Spotify or iTunes, if you can go give us the 5-star review or leave us a review. Love this podcast. Dopest podcast in the whole world. Best content ever. That helps us climb the ranks of the podcast world, so more people can hear us.
Yes.
More people can follow us. So if you don't follow us on that, just hop on your iTunes or your podcast and Spotify. Do it anyways. And share, like always, please share this stuff. Get it out. Send it to someone that's starting school. Send it to someone that's got elementary, middle school, or high school kids.
Yeah, even if your kid's in college, like these things will still work because they'll process with you, call you, text you, whatever. They got a friend, or just like start to journal and process on their own. It'll still help kids in college.
And as always, renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation. And don't forget, there's 2 times to be great: when you feel like it and when you don't.
Don't, baby. Amen.
We love you.
Peace.
I had to realize what's inside of me. For all of the people that lied to me, for all of the people that said I would fall off. Oh, boy, what a time to be alive. I wrote this for everyone, feel like they counted out. You need to look in the mirror and tell yourself it's time to be who I am now. Greatness.